Folks, we waited north of a week to get New York Metropolitan baseball back, and in their first game back after the All-Star break to kickstart the second half of the 2025 season, the offense starts red hot and it ends red hot, but in between, they had absolutely nothing to show because of what was nothing short of a complete blunder by Carlos Mendoza and his incompetence when it came to his bullpen management today, folks. That is what we have to break down as the Mets falter in game one of a three-game set at home against the Cincinnati Reds by a final score of 8-4. And yes, it absolutely sucks to see Lindor go out there as the Mets were getting the rally going with 2 outs. But let's be realistic. How many times is a Mets team really going to rally all the way back after being down, what was it, 6 runs there in the 9th inning? It was too little too late, which is why their demise certainly started before we got to that 9th inning. And what was in the heart of this very frustrating loss for the Mets was not Sean Manaea, who Manaea looked great as 4 innings pitched, but that's where we have an issue, everybody. Sean Manaea obviously is working his way back, so the Mets are going to be cautious with him. So you mean to tell me, let's be cautious with Sean Manaea by giving Alex Carrillo more than enough batters to face when Carrillo's barely had major league experience. He's already given up a home run or 2 at the major league level since being called up over the past couple of weeks. Carrillo's stuff isn't bad, but clearly he needs to be limited. Why, out of all opportunities, you decide as a manager in Carlos Mendoza and your first game post-All-Star break, your first game here in the second half of the season, yet you mean to tell me that we have to utilize Alex Carrillo to face how many batters in 2+ innings? He needs to give up how many home runs before you finally get through your skull to say, hey, maybe we shouldn't have started the ball game. Maybe we shouldn't have had Carrillo in that spot after he gave up that first home run that initially gave the Reds the 3-2 lead after the Mets were up initially in this ball game. Folks, you guys know very well if you've been following the platform as we break down every single Mets win, loss, everything in between throughout the course of the 162 in postseason play, especially in losses like tonight. What do we break down extensively? We get into what is not working in Mets land and when Carlos Mendoza is doing things right versus doing things wrong. And every Mets fan, their mother, has the exact same reaction as your guy Wardy does right now in our latest post-game breakdown, presented by our amazing sponsors at BetUS, SeatGeek, Moo, Mando, and many others that we'll get into later on the show. And that's the simple fact that you had an opportunity in what was a close ball game, a pitcher's duel early on between Sean Manaea there and Nick Lodolo. Again, southpaw via southpaw here, and the Mets could not get enough going. It's hard to get something going when you're giving up batting practice of a reliever who's barely had major league experience when everybody and your mother was fully healthy there in that bullpen. So miss me with the nonsense of whatever Carlos Mendoza may find himself saying post-game to justify his reason to keep Alex Carrillo in this ball game. And while, yes, you guys have every rightful reason to be frustrated by a Mets offense that did not show up nearly enough against the Cincinnati Reds out of all clubs, but let's also make it known, it's not an easy thing to rally back when you're down 4+ runs in the snap of a finger within your throughout your first 5 innings of the ball game. You know what I mean? The Mets were up initially by a couple runs that we saw, and then it became 1 run, and then after the 1 run, obviously, it became, a Reds 3-2 lead, and then after it's a Reds 3-2 lead, it becomes a multiple lead, and then it becomes more and more and more, and then you find yourself quickly in an 8-2 hole. Why? Because Carlos Mendoza decided to punt away game 1 of the second half. There is no others in between. This is exactly how I feel right now, and I know, this is just 1 game out of the 162, but miss me with the nonsense like, this is Mendoza's first time around the block with punting a baseball game for no effing reason. There have been times where it's been more justified when the bullpen's been taxed, when everybody and their mother has been injured. This is not that same scenario. You have reinforcements. Brooks Raley was just activated back in the Mets bullpen today, right? Regardless of how you want to utilize these guys, maybe think a little bit harder than he'd say, you know what? After Alex Carrillo gives up 3 home runs, you know what? After he throws a wild pitch, it's a great idea. Let's get him out of the ball game now. He's had enough. Mind you, a guy with very little major league experience. This is a type of outing that could completely derail him if the Mets even want to consider utilizing him again. And he has nasty stuff. He's got 98+ on the gun, but when he's serving up batting practice because he's getting hung out to dry, what do you think is going to happen, everybody? So thank you guys always for hitting that like and subscribe on your way in. I know the sky's unfalling. I know that the Mets have a lot more great baseball that they will certainly play, hopefully beginning tomorrow, and what's going to be electric David Wright Day there, finally, the right way, as they're going to be retiring number 5 there at Citi Field. I will be covering that starting 2:40 p.m. Eastern on the platform tomorrow, everybody. And then we will be watching the entire David Wright ceremony together. We'll be reacting live as fellow Mets fans. And then we will be live there for our post-game coverage, hopefully after the Mets can split this series and get themselves right for the rubber match then on Sunday around that 1 p.m. day game. But hit those buttons as you first chime in, everybody. Let me know your frustration level on a scale of 1 to 10 out of a loss like this. Because trust me, I understand completely. It's your first game. The Mets were not the only team that didn't make necessarily the wisest pitching decisions today. We saw teams like the New York Yankees going with a bullpen game and Rico Garcia giving up batting practice there to the Atlanta Braves. So he's still trying to support the Mets in any which way he can, or at least, in the sense of hurting the Yankees, but actually not because he's helping the Braves. So I don't even know why I said that. Point I'm trying to make, everybody, is we got a lot to get into in this one. We're going to break down everything that transpired, the highs and certainly the lows that transpired in this 1 through 9 inning ball game, everybody. So let me know everything on how you're feeling right now. And shout out again to our amazing sponsors that make today's segment happen, as well as our great friends at SeatGeek, everybody. Make sure you utilize SeatGeek, because if you guys don't know, SeatGeek has a fantastic rating scale system in their app from 1 to 10, red to green. What that means is if you want to purchase Mets tickets, if it's in the more 1 through 4 range in the red, it's not a good bang for your buck. If it's in the 7 through 10 range in the green, it's a great bang for your buck. So they make it very easy to figure out what kind of tickets work best for you. They're in the SeatGeek app, and if you utilize our promo code WARDY10 today, link down in the description, you're going to get 10% off your next ticket purchase. So make sure you guys are on the lookout for that. Mark, thank you so much for the $2 holla. The Mets should trade for O'Neal Cruz. I love O'Neal Cruz. He's electric. Very, in my opinion, O'Neal Cruz has more potential, obviously, than Ronnie Mauricio. He's I think, a more juiced version of Ronnie Mauricio when looking at upside. A lot of raw talent, but he has a lot more work to do with his in general game. And O'Neal Cruz will not come cheap if the Mets were going to go out of their way to try to acquire him via trade, which is why I would not anticipate it to happen. The Mets are going to prioritize bullpen and starting pitching more than they will probably a batter immediately by this year's deadline, but rest assured they're going to be active in all those markets, and we broke it down extensively in our past 4 videos on the platform who the Mets have either reportedly been connected to or can potentially be connected to, and you guys can check that all out. We dropped a video earlier today as the Mets are currently in the market for Danny Colomé. For those that don't know, he's one of the best lefty relievers in all Major League Baseball right now for the Minnesota Twins. Guy has a sub-1 ERA, absolute dog. The Mets are also the front runners currently for Mitch Keller, so you can check out my further breakdown on that. And a top 10, it's technically a top 12, but I said top 10 Mets trade targets video from this past night that you can check out as well, as we broke down plenty of relievers, plenty starters, and plenty bad options. I gave you guys multiples of options in all those respective areas. But Rebecca Allen, great member, first chiming in. How we doing in here? We got Eric Douglas, great member. We got Daniel Caps, great member as always. All things Mets talk, how are you? Thank you for chiming in. Big Frank, how are you? Patrick going up here. Richard, how are you? Going up here. Lugo, are we going to get Seth Lugo back? I guess that's a good question, right? Home Run Gaming, how are you? BXNYM, Esco, going up the list here. To all my live members, reoccurring subscribers, and new followers, happy to have you on here for our latest New York Metropolitan breakdown as the Mets drop game 1 of a 3-game set by a final score of 8-4. Mike O'Brien, John, Rocket Man going up the list here. We got Bobby G in the chat. Patrick, Kane, how we doing? Dante, how are you? We got him in the chat here. We got Eric Douglas, if I didn't say him already, great member. Sanders, how we doing? Phil, how are you? Chris Smith, how are you? Going up the list here. Dan Dodio, great member as always. Truman Quinn, hope you were doing fantastic. We got Rasan in here. Mr. Deloney, thank you so much. GTB, Goomba, all you guys chiming in live on a replay. Hit those buttons. Let me see how you're feeling. KCB with the $10 holla states the following. Sometimes it's hard to quantify what it means when an offense struggles, but here's a good one. In the last 2 games, the Mets offense has not put together back-to-back walk hits until the 9th inning in both games. Yeah, that's a problem, no doubt. The Mets rolled over there that we saw in the series finale after securing the series in Kansas City. The same way that their offense rolled over today after facing that early deficit after Alex Correa was giving up batting practice because he was hung out to dry. And in case you guys are wondering just how bad it was in the case of the pitching decisions by Carlos Mendoza today, let me enlighten you guys. Again, Sean Manaea did his thing. Manaea was far from the problem. He struck out the side to begin this ball game. A lot to love from the Samoan southpaw at his first official start of the season, because remember, when he pitched last time there in Kansas City, he was piggybacking off of Clay Holmes' start, so he's technically a reliever then. He's a starter today, but he doesn't go beyond 4 when he's just around 70 pitches, mind you. Carrillo comes in, he gives up a home run to everybody, your mother, your grandfather, even your grandma other two guys, and then Brandon Waddell we throw in there because we're really waving the white flag. We don't want to utilize anyone of significance because as we're only down 4 runs, mind you, being down 4 runs does not mean you're completely out of the ball game, but you're throwing in the towel, you're waving the white flag when you have Brandon Waddell to come in to finish the ball game. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Buddy walked the entire bases loaded later on this ball game before the Mets even had a chance to try to get more rally going. Just not ideal at all. Offensively, this is how the ball game ended for this Mets club that you guys can see. Big offers today from Lindor and Vientos there from 1 and 2. Hate to see it. Did not like the at-bats at all, especially Mark was underwhelming. Soto did his thing because the WardyNYM is hitting ding-dongs, and as Jim Passan stated, Passan thinks that Soto's going to lead all of baseball in home runs in the second half, and so far, so good. I like the way he thinks there. Alonso, nothing to show, so when you look at that core offense, 1 through 4, everybody, you did not have anything in unison whatsoever, and now I'm kind of wondering, especially in a game where Lindor was not showing up in the leadoff spot again, should the Mets maybe have considered Brandon Nimmo there being moved back up there towards the top of the order in the first or second hole? Again, it doesn't matter now, but Nimmo had another very productive game. Multiple hits, 2 for 3 there. Ronnie was effective, even though that his run score there, the run that he drove in was not a technical RBI because it was thanks to Connor Joe missing the ball on the lights in right field, but we'll take that. Chev McKitt certainly doing his job, hitting singles up the middle for runs scored every single day of the week. Brett the Hitman doing exactly what you can ask for. And Luis Torrens with some nasty warning track power, some first pitch swinging RBIs late in this ball game, getting the rally going with 2 outs, yet it simply is not even close to enough to win this ball game for this New York Metropolitan team, everybody. And not only did we talk about what we have to break down there, we're also friends at SeatGeek that you guys just saw there. I also want to give a massive shout out, as always, to our amazing sponsors here, as well at BetUS that have you covered for all of your sports betting needs. Make sure you guys bet responsibly. That's the most important thing. But should you have interest, head over to betus.com.pa today and utilize our promo code YouTube150 because you will then get a 150% bonus on your first deposit. And as you guys can see right here, they have graded these Mets draft picks between their first and second round pick and Mitch Voit, as well as Antonio Jimenez. Mitch Voit I like a lot. He made his appearance at Citi Field today that I'll be breaking down more in content mañana, so be on the lookout for that. But between Voit and Jimenez, I'm personally going to go with a B grade, and I would love to see you guys spam your grades in the live chat as well as in the comments down below right now. How would you grade those first 2 draft picks in 2025 by David Stearns and this Metropolitan team? If you guys want to play the Mets on the money line, over-unders, picks, props, you name it, head over there and check out our great friends at BetUS that, again, have you covered, but make sure you're doing it responsibly, everybody. Now, going down and live react together, but TJ Friedel strikes out swinging, right? Matt McClain, who had a dominant game against the Mets, strikes out swinging, and Ellie De La Cruz, one of the most electrifying players in baseball, strikes out wide. Because Sean Manaea, with that arm slot change, is an absolute dog, picking right up where he left off from his last outing, as well as what he did in the second half of 2024 since making that adjustment. As we get to the bottom of that same inning, everybody, after we get nothing from Lindor and Mark, we get also something from the one and only Juan Soto. Absolutely demolishes a baseball, lefty off of Nick Lodolo, and that schmuck had the bright idea to throw him 93 meatball down the pipe middle. What do you think is going to happen? Juan Soto, the one and only, is what's going to happen as Soto drives in his 24th home run this season, a 412 feet shot there to right, gives the Mets the early 1-0 lead, 115 off the bat. You really can ask for anything more. Alonso pops out, and that does it for the inning, but not before the Mets were initially up 1-0 in this ball game. In the second, we see Austin Hayes with a walk. Then we see Anolvi Marte strikeout. Stevenson then with a walk. So you got 2 men on via walk, thanks to Sean Manaea, but he works out of it as he gets Jose Trevino, the former backstop for the New York Yankees, a ground out to end the inning. As we then get to the bottom of the second, we get a Brandon Nimmo leadoff walk, Bolton at first, thanking Christ for being here as he always does, and then Ronnie Mauricio pops out, so Brandon says, all right, I got to do something on the bases here. What does Brandon do? He steals his 11th stolen bag of the season, so you got a runner in scoring position. The Mets are up by 1, and you have probably one of the best hitters that you could possibly have in that setup there and a lefty-lefty matchup. Why? Because the Mets lefty bats in Nimmo, McNeil, and Soto all eat up fellow lefty starters and relievers for breakfast. They have consistently done this throughout their careers, so no one should be shocked that Jeff McNeil eats up a single for breakfast, as he's going to rip that one up the middle there on a curveball down the pipe, a little away, but still way too much hard to play, and that makes it a 2-0 Metropolitan lead as Nimmo comes in to score after he had some fantastic base running there to put himself in scoring position. The Mets are up by 2, and that's all she writes for the inning as nothing happens with Tyrone Taylor and Elise Turan. So as we get set in the third, outside of a TJ Friedel hit by a pitch, it's another big strikeout of Matt McClain, who, mind you, dominated once Manaea left this ball game, but before then had no clue how to pick up Manaea and his arm slot at all. Mets get through that one unscathed. In the bottom of the third, Nick Lodolo works a 1-2-3 on Lindor, Vientos, and Soto. Soto's caught on strikes for the first of multiple times in this ball game. Didn't love that. In the top of the fourth, we see Austin Hayes greet Mr. Sean Manaea rudely with his 9th home run this season, and that makes it a 1-run deficit for Cincinnati, but still Sean gets out of that mess still. Mets are still up by 1, as he would then get the ensuing 3 outs after the fact. But that does it for Sean Manaea's final line, everybody, as he is done after just 4 innings of work today. And after that, everybody, the Simone Southbound Sean Manaea, let me get into what I liked about Sean today, because I feel like this is going to be a loss, and naturally this 8-4 loss, you guys are going to forget about it as soon as I drop content early tomorrow and we get all set for the big David Wright day. And again, understandably so, because I think we're all just looking forward to seeing what the Mets can do tomorrow and talk less about what they didn't do right tonight. But Sean Manaea, as we saw, everybody, had the 3 pitches working. He threw the four-seam fastball a whopping 74% of the time, knowing that this Reds team does not swing at all. They do not take the bat off their shoulders. As a matter of fact, the Reds are one of the worst offenses in baseball, but leave it to the Mets to make them look like that they have something cooking here. A four-seam fastball topping out 95, sitting 92. A sweeper 25% on the arsenal, topping out 82, sitting right around 78. And a slider there that we saw thrown one time at right around 80 miles per hour. Sean Manaea would go on to throw how many pitches in this one? Oh, he would just casually go on to throw a total of, as we see here, not a lot, as I mentioned, everybody. Manaea only throws 69. Nice. So he doesn't even get to 70 pitches today in 4 innings. So Manaea did everything you could ask for with the exception of the solo shot. For that reason alone, I'm going to give Sean Manaea, again, I can't really fault him. It's not his fault that he only won 4 innings. It's just because the Mets are going to take it easy with him. So because of that reason, I'm still going to give Sean Manaea a rock solid 6 out of 10 today. It's not his fault that he only won 4 innings today. It would be his fault if he won 4 innings, let's say 100 plus pitches, and they had to get him out of there. But in the case of Manaea today, this is Carlos Mendoza and David Stearns is doing, not wanting to give him a leash beyond 69 pitches because they do not want to risk any further injury or to have any potential setback again with him. I understand it to a degree, but you hate to see it, as Manaea obviously worked himself back. He looked perfectly fine there when he was in that Royals game, and we've seen him get that workload a bit up now. Regardless, Sean Manaea, I'm going to give a 6 out of 10 on my grade. If you guys have a different grade or the same grade in general, relay it in the live chat as well as in the comments down below. How would you grade on a scale 1 to 10 Sean Manaea's final line today, everybody? Because as we hop back into this, let's get into what then went so wrong for this team on the bullpen front. Because as I said, Manaea's out here in 69 pitches, right? So we get to the 5th, and here comes Alex Carrillo. Again, Carrillo was the MO on Carrillo. Buddy throws gas, right? He has a four-seam fastball that topped out 98 today and sat 97. It was a little down from the last time he was out there. The slider was topping out 89 and sitting 87. And the splitty topped out 90 and sat right around 89, but he was just leaving way too much over the heart of the plate. And this is where, in my opinion, and the opinions of many, Carlos Mendoza hung this man out to dry. And that's an understatement, right? He gets a flat on Jose Trevino. Then he strikes out Jake Fraley. Then he gives up a hit by a pitch to TJ Friedel, because of course he does. And Matt McClain eats up a pitch for breakfast. After McClain had nothing to show in his previous at-bat, he takes a four-seam fastball, 96 down and in. Whoop-de-effing do, Basil. Of course he's going to pull that bad boy to left, 382 feet to make it a 3-2 Reds lead. So that right there should have been the end of Carrillo's day, right? Especially when you bear in mind, Carrillo then somehow somebody strikes out Ellie De La Cruz swinging, the next batter up to end the inning on a nasty splitty down away out of the zone. Beautifully placed there in Carrillo. What was a grind of an at-bat. So you're saying to yourself, okay, the Mets are just down by 1. Carrillo gave up the bomb, but we just need 1 inning from him, right? We still have the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th. That is now enough time to consider someone else in your bullpen. Why are you going to try to stretch Carrillo thin when everybody is healthy and fresh in your bullpen? There is nothing to justify. Disregard any anything that Mendoza says post-game because he's just trying to come up with an excuse. There is nothing, and I mean truly nothing, to justify that decision. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to pull up right now to see if the people at SNY went out of their way to question Mendoza, rightfully so, for making that decision. Let's go ahead and actually listen to Mendoza's decision right here, right now. KCB, thank you for the $5. You know what? We'll wait to listen to it for when I get to breaking down what went even worse with Carrillo versus what we currently saw there. KC with the $5. Big worries that the trade deadline can fix the bullpen. Don't think it can fix the offense. It's not a talent problem. It's a mental approach problem. Yeah, I mean, if Francisco Alvarez continuing rake in the minor leagues is telling, if anything, he's blossoming with a change of heady approach because he doesn't have to have Eric Chavez in his ear. Color me shocked. It's almost like the Mets have a little bit of a problem there, right? KC, thank you for that donation. I appreciate that. And listen, the Mets have a chance to add in those areas, but to what degree will they? That has yet to be seen. And I certainly hope that they do something important there because I, like you, just want to see this Mets team go far this year like every other Mets fan and their mother. At the bottom of the fifth, though, everybody, we see McNeil fly out, Taylor a call down strikes, Terenza rips a 2-out single, and Lindor pops out to end the inning. As we then get to the top of the sixth, batting practice is served up yet again by Carrillo. This time it is first pitch home run, fastball up and away, 96, and Austin Hayes just gets enough for his 401-foot homer, his 10th of the season, everybody, that he rips to center, and that gives the Reds a 4-2 lead. So okay, he's given up 2 home runs now. But you know what? Carlos Mendoza is going to give him the benefit of that. Why? Because he's acting thick-headed. And I love Mendy. I don't have a personal ill will with Mendy. But his bullpen management has continued been suspect for the large portion of the season. And this costed the Mets game. It's not just on the offense. This is a game where you can understand as to why the offense rolled over a little bit when they have such frustrating bullpen decisions to be had. Spencer Steer gets out with a walk. No, we're going to keep him in the ball game, right? After a pop out of Noel V. Marte, it's a wild pitch for Alex Carrillo. So a wild pitch puts another runner in scoring position. But even then, it doesn't matter. We're gonna challenge Tyler Stevenson. And what does Tyler Stevenson do, everybody? Tyler Stevenson makes him pay. Why? Because he throws a 97-mile-per-fastball upstairs down the pipe. What do you think's going to happen? It's another identical 401-foot home run. It makes it a 6-2 Cincinnati Reds lead. And even then, after facing Stevenson there, we still keep Carrillo in the ball game because no one was ready for the bullpen. Why? Why are we this incompetent, Mendy? Why do we have to roll over and die? Why is it that we have to decide halfway through an effing ball game in your first game back that we're just not going to be doing it, that we're not going to try today? Because that's exactly what you insinuate by keeping Carrillo in more than one too many batters, and then you bring in Brandon Waddell as the piggyback as if things will get better. A newsflash, it doesn't. It does for the inning, but it doesn't because you stay within the rest of the effing ball game. Connor Joe strikes out, TJ Friedel flies out, but not before the Reds are up then quickly 6-2, and the Mets, who had a 2-0 lead, gone in the snap of a finger just like that. Now, folks, let's see what Mets skipper Carlos Mendoza had the audacity to say today to justify his incompetent decision-making behind the bullpen today. Let's listen up together, everybody. And newsflash, I haven't even listened to it yet, but there's 26 likes and 25 comments in 6 minutes on X. And that isn't telling of how Mets fans feel. I don't know what is. Let's listen in together, everybody. Let's go ahead and do this.
Decision to put Carrillo back out there for the second inning and also keep Waddell in there when he was struggling with his command.
Well, yeah, at that point, once we got down, 3-4, I'm trying to, Waddell is kind of like our lone man there. I'm not going to deploy our high leverage guy when you're chasing 3, 4, 5 runs, With Carrillo, the game was still down 1, after the 5th inning. I needed to get a couple out of them, so it just didn't happen today.
No, you didn't. You did not need to get a couple out of him today. You were focused more on tomorrow, and that bit your ass today. Stop it, Mendy. Stop it, stop it, stop it. He flip-flops. He does his snip-snap. Cue Michael Scott when he gets a vasectomy from The Office, if you know, you know. Snip-snap, snip-snap. He's Jekyll and Hyde and what his thought process is. Sometimes Mendy's like, we can't look ahead to tomorrow. We have to focus on today. Then other times he's like, oh, I was burying mine tomorrow, knowing the arms that we're going to have available. Buddy, everyone's healthy. Everyone's healthy. What are you doing? I completely understand that the Mets played their previous 8 or 9 days in a row and you need to maximize your bullpen. I completely get that, but miss me with that nonsense when you just came off of the All-Star break. There's nothing to justify it. You did not need to get more than an inning from Alex Carrillo today. The first mistake you made was heading into this ballgame and thinking that it needed to be that way. That was the major flaw. That is what costed this team today, and that is where I look at it as a greater problem than the offense itself. Why? Because the offense at least showed something as we got back. We're able to actually show up and do something instead of rolling over and dying the entire ball game. So miss me with that BS. That I don't agree with at all. And again, Korea was throwing home run derby meatballs. All the more reason to pull his ass after he gave up the first home run, let alone 2. But no, you wait until a third. You wait until he allows another batter again on and a wild pitch. What are you doing? Incompetence is what this is. And again, not the end of the world. Mets bounce back tomorrow. They take the series Sunday. We're starting to get in a groove. Great. Not complaining about that at all. But just such a sour taste in our mouths on the night before what's going to be a special day at Citi Field. You had a sold-out crowd at Citi Field today, as is. Everyone was amped for Mets baseball back at Citi Field. Gorgeous crowd there for the Blackout Friday night with the fireworks night as well. It's another fireworks night where you do not turn it up, where you just cannot get things going the way that you want to. And that is a very frustrating thing, guys. So now to go from talking about Mendoza, I'm still very frustrated to talk about that. Let's go back into breaking down more on this ball game and how the Mets again rallied late, but still it was too little too late. And I don't know where we are in the like count, everybody, but if you guys could continue smashing that like and subscribe on, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you guys so much for doing exactly that. If you guys could help us get a 200 plus likes by the end of the live show to our live or replay viewers, that would really mean a lot. And again, let me know your key takeaways and reactions to tonight's 8-4 frustrating loss here in what was an incompetent bullpen decision-making fashion, in my humble opinion, and the opinions of many, by a final score of 8-4. As we get right back into this, guys, in the bottom of the 6th, the Mets don't do anything. They go down in order. In the top of the 7th, then, Matt McClain rips himself a double right away. Why? Because his batting practice against Brandon Woodell. Ellie De La Cruz drives him in, makes it 7-2 with a single. Then after the 7-2 single, we see a couple more guys get on. This time we see Noelvi Marte get on with a 2-out single, but thankfully that's all she wrote. And the bottom of the 7th, BrandonYM, more like BrandonYM, leading off the inning with a single. He's on for the second time today, but that's all she wrote. We then get to the 8th inning. And in the 8th inning, we see Jose Trevino ground out, Connor Joe pop out, but then the second TJ Friedl hit by pitch of the game, and this would yet again be costly. Matt McClain gets on with a walk then. All with 2 outs, mind you. All Brandon Woodell needs is to command the effing strike zone. Yeah, buddy cued himself, his was it, I believe, I'm trying to think, Rick Vaughn, right? Wild thing, and he just could not command to save his life. He wasn't throwing gas. He was just throwing everything but actually hitting the strike zone. McClain gets on with the walk. Then we see Ellie De La Cruz get on with a walk. Then we see Austin Hayes get on with a walk after its bases loaded. It makes it 8-2. Why? Because of course you're pulling the Oprah Winfrey. You get a walk. You get a walk. You get a walk. You get a walk. And what do we have? The Mets losing this ball game is what we're going to have, because it makes it 8-2, guys. And we're like, okay, great, awesome. Here comes Ashcraft in the bottom of the 8th inning, everybody. And it's a 1-2-3 there for the Reds. And the 9th, Tyler Stevenson rips a double. Thankfully, nothing else happens, and that does it for Brandon Woodell's less than inspiring day. Then the bottom of the 9th with 2 outs after Juan Soto gets a called strike 3 down the pipe. Horrendous at bat. Alonso flies out. Then BrandonYM rips himself his 18th double this season, 3rd time he's on base tonight. Why? Because BrandonYM's a dog. That's why. Then Ronnie Mauricio quickly drives him in there by poking one to the right side, as it would be dropped by Connor Joe somehow there in shallow right field. It makes it 8-3. Okay, the Mets are starting to cook here with a couple outs. Can they get more going? Jeff McNeil, more like Jeff McWalks. You get 2 on. Now we have 2 outs. Here comes Emilio Pagan. Yes, folks, Tito goes to their closer, because even though that they have themselves a sizable lead, they do not want to take any risks. So what happens? Here comes Pagan, and here comes Brett Beatty as a pinch hitter, and Beatty gets a chopper of an infield single, bases loaded. Mets are still in it. Luis Torrenza rips the first pitch he sees for a single, and that makes it 8-4. So the Mets are down by 4. He got bases loaded again. You're back to the top of the order in Francisco Lindor. And what does Lindor do? He flies out to end the ball game, folks. He flies out there in the infield to Matt McLain, and that does it for this one. The Mets go on to lose by a final score of 8-4, everybody, and the frustration, in my humble opinion, has a lot more to do on the lack of bullpen structure tonight than just the offense itself, right? One, I don't think happens without the other. I'm a firm believer, and as someone who has been on the Mets all year long about their lack of consistency with offense, I would argue that no one has been on that more consistently than I have. I've been calling this out since the series lost to the Houston Astros. Mind you, that was the first series of the season. So no one's more locked in when it comes to that than your guy Wardy here. I've watched every single game. I can tell you very well when I know that this offense has rolled over and died too many times. But you can only fault an offense so much when they start the game hot, they end the game hot, and the bullpen is completely incompetent with the decision-making in between. And you can't say, oh, the Mets didn't produce runners in scoring position today, because when they did have runners in scoring position, they most certainly produced. And this was a continuation of what they did well in the final 10 games or so of the season, right? We saw 3 for 5 there with runners in scoring position while leaving 6 on base. And for context, the Reds were worse today, yet they outscored the Mets 8-4 and they out-hit the Mets 8-7. The Reds were just 2 for 7 and left 10 on base. So they were the more underwhelming offense, right? Then when we look at, let's check out Baseball Savant on the expected batting average here between these two teams. The Mets had an expected batting average of 250. The Reds had an expected batting average of 267 in this one. And offensively, who are the key standouts for the Mets in this key matchup? I think it absolutely, you look at Juan Soto at the home run, but you're also discouraged by taking too many strike 3 calls. Twice in this ball game, Soto did that. Didn't like that all that much. When we just rapid fire to break down this offense, quick everybody, Lindor is now down to a 256 average and a 777 OPS. His offensive numbers have not been this bad since the first couple weeks of the season, if I'm not mistaken. That's not ideal. Vientos, 0 for 4, 219 average, 629 OPS. Mark was finally starting to heat up right before the All-Star break, and now the All-Star break happens. So he's ice cold again, and you got to work him back up. Soto's 24th home run of the year, 262 average, 909 OPS. Alonso is down to a 277 average and under 900 OPS. I hate that. I want to see Alonso lock back in. He had an 0 for today. Brandon Nimmo, and Alonso has not done well against Lodolo at times in the past, so I'm not shocked to see that. Some lefties the Mets just can't do well against, and Lodolo, who's been very good all year, carved the Mets up today. He's a very sneaky southpaw who I'm not surprised to see do well against this Mets team. I'm just surprised the Mets were not able to get more consistency going with their bullpen, but oh wait, I see that was the decision-making that had something to say about that. After Alonso went 0 for Brandon Nimmo, 2 for 3 that we saw, 262 average, 793 OPS. Ronnie Mauricio 0 for 4 with a run scored, 227 average, 691 OPS. Shevbeck hits 1 for 3, 254 average, 806 OPS. Tyrone Taylor is becoming borderline unplayable right now because his bat is nowhere to be seen. 210 average, 574 OPS. Brett Beatty with the pinch hit, 230 average, 690 OPS. And Luis Torrens 2 for 4 with a 212 average, 594 OPS, everybody. And that does it from the offense. And on the pitching end, I don't really think I have much more to expand on other than of how underwhelmed I am with what we got right there. Between Carrillo and Waddell leaves a lot to be desired, and we are just all looking to hopefully seeing this team bounce back. Kevin, thank you so much for the donation, baby. I'm going to get to that in just a second. Let's go up the chat here. Let me see what you guys got for me. And I'm actually going to go back to the main slide now. Hopefully we take the next 2. See you at Wardy Day. Sounds great, Mario. I hope to see you there, everybody. Again, if you guys want to check out Wardy Day, it is linked down below, pinned comment down below, and the description down below for you guys to check out. And I'm going to show you guys our video on Wardy Day in just a second for those that have interest. Kevin with the $5 hollow states the following: no excuse, not even Buck would toss a game like this, and many doesn't mention the chance to pull Carrillo when it's yeah, again, just nonsense. He did not do this bullpen any justice today. It's as simple as that. It was a poorly managed bullpen game. Simple as that. Why frustrates us more? This is not the first frustrating bullpen managed game where the Mets did not get something cooking right. Wardy, do you think Jet Williams will be called up soon? No, I do not. But it's an interesting thought considering the fact that the Mets are not getting a lot of consistency at center field. I do not see the Mets calling Jet up from AA, but the same thing, I'll have to see to believe it. I'm never going to say like no, like there's zero chance. I'm just not going to get my hopes up on it. I don't think you should either. Jet's been great this season. Don't get me wrong, but the Mets still want him to be seasoned a bit more probably before getting into the bigs. KCB, Wardy, I get it, but two things can be true. The offense wasn't hot. They put up 2 runs, never really had a threatening rally because until the 9th, they had no real rally. So no, I'm not disagreeing with you on that either, Casey. I think the point I'm trying to make, though, is that the offense was at least doing early damage. And then as you come to find out a couple innings later, you're in a 4-run hole. That isn't an easy thing to dig yourself out of every single night. And that was a continued problem for the Mets that we saw with their lack of offense in this first half, leading into before they started getting a groove in that Kansas City Royals series. They were really struggling to get consistency going because they were throwing new relievers in every single day. When the Mets went on that horrendous stretch of dropping 14 of 18 games, it's very hard to be inspired as an offense when you're down early consistently, the way that they were in a lot of those matchups that we found ourselves watching all together. And Lindor has been ice cold. You're not wrong. Should we phantom IL Taylor and call up Gilbert? Drew Gilbert has not done nearly enough in Syracuse to just warrant this miraculous call-up. He's had the home run swing more as of late, no doubt about it, but the Mets are not impressed enough with Drew Gilbert to give him the call. There is a greater reality that Drew Gilbert, in my opinion, is not a part of this organization a year from now than he is getting a great look by the Mets in the outfield. I know that's something that may sting some fans to hear, but the Mets farm has changed drastically since the 2023 trade deadline, and the value that they once held in the guys in Acuna and Gilbert is a shell of that since then, as the farm has gone much deeper, and the productivity from Gilbert has been wishy-washy. It's been much better over the past month. No doubt about it with the home run swing. But he still has more work to do. I don't see the Mets going there right now at all. Didn't know what Gilbert was doing yet. He's been hitting the ball much better as of late. He's been getting that home run swing going. But he just is still having his rightful struggles on the consistency front, for sure. Mario, like I said, I would try to show up as early as you can. Anywhere from 5:30 to 6, I think you'll be good. We just need to make sure you're there early enough so you can meet with me, and we'll be doing our pregame on-field access together. So be on the lookout for that for sure. But folks, before we get on to kind of wrapping up the show, and I'm going to answer some more of your comments, I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm getting tired of Mendoza and the use of the pitching staff the whole season. It has been a drain at times. I'm not saying you're wrong there. But folks, let's listen into something positive for a second, and then we'll get into our closing remarks before wrapping up tonight's show. It's Wardy here, and as you can see, we are at gorgeous Citi Field, and folks, you can get the ultimate, the prime experience with your guy Wardy at our first ever official Wardy Day. August 1st, Mets, San Francisco Giants there for the evening game. The day after the MLB trade deadline, you, your friends, your loved ones, select Mets fans will get the ultimate experience with your guy Wardy. Not only are we going to hang out at the ball game together, but folks, look at the seating. We're going to be live here in the left field lounge. You guys will be able to chop it up with your guy Wardy. We're going to be debating as to who's the best pitcher of the rotation outside of Kodai Senga. We're going to be talking about who's the next best prospect to get called up. How do we feel about the trade deadline acquisitions? And guys, as you get back up here then, we are going to be giving you a $18 drink voucher, and with that drink voucher, you guys are going to be able to hit up the bars that we have right outside of here. So easy, so accessible. Again, prime seating, a truly fantastic experience. Our first ever Wardy Day here at Citi Field, guys, where you will get a chance to hang out with your guy Wardy. And the best part too, not only is it this amazing lounge in left field that you guys will hang out with me, but we're going to be on the field, pre-game access there for a group photo op. So I hope to see you, all you amazing Mets fans there. Click the link if you guys haven't already there to check out our available tickets, and let's go Mets. And not only are we going to be sitting here throughout the course of the ball game, you guys can also check out these seats that we have access to all here in the bar area here, right at the Milagro, where you guys can utilize your $18 drink voucher. Again, this is going to be at Wardy Day, August 1st, 2025. Oh wait, yeah, almost forgot. It's also fireworks night. Bang! Hope to see you guys there. It's fitting that I play that promo on a fireworks night that the Mets roll over. That's not ideal. Don't love that, but hopefully the Mets certainly have a better outing against those Giants on August 1st, the day after the deadline, than what we got tonight here against the Cincinnati Reds. Again, we are just under 2 weeks away now, everybody, and we have right around 10 tickets left. So I'm gonna continue to reiterate this every single day up until that point, because I want to make sure that everyone gets their last licks and chances to take part in the event. And this will not be the last event we're doing at Citi Field. We actually have something upcoming not too long after. I think actually just days after that, but it's not the same exact experience, and I will expand on that when it is time to do so. Russ in the chat says, hey, Wordy Pal, it's Russ. That game was hard to watch. Lindor acknowledged his month and a half struggles at the plate during his post-game interview. Thanks for everything. Good to hear that. Lindor will always hold himself accountable. That's what I love about him, along with many other things. The future official captain of this New York Metropolitan team. Gotcha, my B. I didn't hear the answer earlier. Gotcha. I'm sure the fireworks were loud. That's a great point. For those who don't know, Mario, great member in the chat, actually works at Citi Field. So he's a dog. He lives and breathes Mets in more ways than one. Rebecca Allen, how we doing here? I'm not down on Acuna at all. Acuna is going to be awesome. I like Acuna a lot, but I do have reservations as to how much the Mets can really utilize him for the better when you look at just the amount of depth that they have in their infield. I don't know why, since we moved Soto down to 3, Mendoza insists on using him there every game. Why are we treating the 2-hole like a vacuum now? No Vientos there, please. Yeah, I mean, the Mets are continuing to try to get more production out of Vientos in that spot, and they're just not getting consistency. And this rotation between Vientos and Nimmo from either the 2 spot or then the 5 spot is not necessarily benefiting this team as much as we would otherwise hope it would, right? Tonight was a good example of that. Alonso, the 4 spot, Nimmo at 5. Again, Nimmo's been playing great, but it's been more of Nimmo thriving in kind of any situation called upon than it has been anything else that we've seen from him. Going up here, let's see. Beatty got on with a little squib of a hit as a pinch hitter in the 9th. Yep, Dave, I did see that, but still counts as a hit. Congratulations on your engagement, Brett. That's a great point. Yep, congratulations to Brett and his fiance now. Very happy for him. I know I have a buddy that was a little heartbroken to find out that news, not because of Beatty being the one that's getting married, but funny enough, his lady. That's a little inside joke me and my buddy have. I'm not going to share who that friend is, but they know exactly who they are. And I hope that they see this segment at some point. As he texted me right away saying, well, I guess I got to put to bed the idea of, trying to bag Beatty's girl. I'm like, yeah, I guess you got to do it. And then I replied back jokingly, there's only one thing left to do. And it was the movie cover of Wedding Crashers I sent him, and we were just dying laughing. So that was a little funny moment we had from the Brett Beatty engagement. I was like, there's one guy I know that's upset about this, and I'm gonna go hit him up right now. But outside of that, I think that's all I got for you guys tonight. I'm gonna go ahead and try to work on some content to get you guys set for tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. Barring changes, we will have for certain a Metropolitan live show, 2:40 p.m. Eastern, before that starts with David Wright's ceremony. We'll be live reacting together in real time, Mets fans, live reacting to the ceremony. If I have the ability to show it actually on screen, I will do that. But if I get hell for, copyright reasons or whatever, then I will stop doing that or just not do it at all. Either way, we will react together live and we will be emotional as Mets fans together. So make sure that you guys are on the lookout for that. I'll be live for that. I will have post-game coverage for you guys. And I will also potentially have a video dropping in the AM for you all tomorrow too, depending on how quickly I can get this pumped out as soon as we're done live tonight. So Dave, you're going to be at the game tomorrow. I hope you have an absolute blast, my friend. How can you not be excited about the future of this team? Oh, I'm very excited about the future of this team, for sure. I'll be a lot more excited if they could go ahead and even up the series tomorrow. So with that being said, everybody, that's going to conclude our latest post-game show. Thank you all so much for hitting that like and subscribe on your way in and certainly on your way out. Let us know all your key reactions in the comments down below. June, I mean, it's very ironic to say the Mets suck, yet you have suck in your name, my friend. I mean, my goodness gracious, look in a mirror and maybe swallow while you're at it if you know you know. But that's going to do it, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow for more Mets content. PB9, I love you too. Thank you so much for the support. I'll see you all soon.